Monochromatic art. These are all monochromatic paintings. What do you think monochromatic means? Monochromatic is a color palette used in art making. The hue is the original color. In this palette, the hue is red. When you add white to the hue, it's called a tint. When you add black to the hue, it's called a shade. Pablo Picasso is an artist from Spain. He made an entire series of monochromatic paintings. Art historians called it his blue period. This painting is called The Cellar of Herbs and was painted in 1902. What is the main hue in this painting? If you guess blue, you are correct. How do these paintings make you feel? The one on the left is called The Soup, and the one on the right is called Crouching Woman. They were also painted in 1902. Kids like to make monochromatic paintings too. Let's try to make one together. For today's lesson, you're going to need a sheet of paper to protect your table. You're going to need a sheet of watercolor paper, some black, dark blue, and white tempera paint or acrylic paint, a medium-sized brush, a small brush, a pencil, a little tiny cup for putting your paint in, and some kind of a water cup. Now to begin with, I'm going to take and put everything off to the side. And I'm first going to go ahead and just pick up my pencil. And I want to come down to the bottom section of my paper, and I'm going to be making a hill, a snow hill for my trees to live on. So I'm going to make some kind of a wavy line. You can have it higher on one side, lower on the other, it's up to you, but make some kind of a waved line. So now we have our sky and we have our ground. Now we're going to get our cup of paint, and we are going to have just a tiny, tiny little bit of paint in there. And I'm going to take my medium-sized brush and I'm going to dip into that paint. And now what I need to do is decide where I want to put my moon. Do I want to put my moon off to the side, in the middle, on this side, down low, up high? Anywhere you want, you're going to take and put in a moon. And I think I'm going to put my moon right over here. And it might be a little bit hard to see because it's white. So I'm going to paint in a circle for a moon. I'm going to make it nice and bright. Now we learned that to make a tint of a color, we add that color in with white. So I'm going to add in some of my blue into my white and make a tint of blue. Now when this blue gets added in, it is literally just one drop. One drop of blue added in. Now I need to mix, 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 mix. And you can see I have a tint of blue. And I'm going to take that paint and I am going to go around my moon. I think I need a little bit more paint on there. So I paint around my moon. And I'm going to leave my moon white. Now I'm going to take and get one more drop of blue paint. My tint is going to be a little bit darker now. I will get closer to my original hue. And now I'm going to go around this tint with my darker tint. Then I go round and round, and it is okay if it is not perfect. I go round and round. I need to get more paint as I go. Oh, it's looking beautiful. And now once again, I'm going to get one more drop of blue added in, and I am going to mix, 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 mix. And I am going to go around, and you can see that my tint is getting darker. It's okay if I go off the page a little bit. Okay, and I'm ready for my next drop. And this time there's not really anything to mix with, so I am at my original hue. I am at my blue paint. Now, some of you might have gone all the way and already be finished, and if that's okay, that's all right. If not, you'll have to keep moving out your paint. And you'll see I'm getting to my bottom edge here, so I am going to make sure I don't go down. I'm going to leave this part white. And I am ready for another drop of blue. And this time I'm actually going to add in a tiny, even less, the littlest amount of black I can. I'm going to add that in. The tiniest amount of black. There we go. You can see I have a very, very tiny amount of black. And now I'm going to leave from being a tint, and once we add in black, it has now become a shade. And I'm going to come in and do my last part with my shade of black, my shade of blue. And I've got to fill in this whole section. And teachers know that if a student takes and paints the whole thing blue, you could let it dry and then just take white paint back in and bring in your snow. So it's not a big deal if a student paints their snow out. Okay, now I'm going to let this dry. When it's completely dry, then I can start to add in my trees. So I'm going to let it dry, 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 dry. And if I paint it over my snow, I'm going to paint my snow back in and then let it dry, 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 dry. When it's completely dry, then you're going to be able to add in trees. So now I'm ready to add in my trees, and believe it or not, I'm going to start with a tiny bit of black paint. And I am going to use my tiny brush now, just my little brush. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to choose where I want my tree to go. I'm not going to take mine into my moon. I'm going to take it a little ways over, and it's going to be kind of tall. So I'm going to start up high, and I'm first just going to paint a long, tall, skinny line that goes up into my sky and down into my snow. So first I just make a long, skinny line. And then at the bottom of my line, I'm going to make a smile. Just a little smiley face. And now once I have that smile in, I want to come back up and I'm going to connect the top of my line to the edges of my smiles. The top of my line to the edges of my smile. And then I want to paint the whole thing in black. When I'm done, I can take and put my brush in my water. Now I need to let this dry completely. When it's totally dry, then we can do the last touches. So now we're ready to put the branches onto our trees. So I'm going to come and get 1 drop of my hue, okay, or blue, because our hue this time is blue. So I've got my 1 drop of it. And then I want to come in and put a few drops of white. Okay, so I want more white than blue. And I'm going to take my tiny brush this time. I'm using my little one. And the first thing I need to do is mix those up. Mix, 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 mix. And it's going to match our very, very first tint that we made. So we've added blue into our white, so we have our tint. And now I'm going to come down and I'm going to be painting a mustache onto my tree. So I come to the middle of it and I'm going to, mustaches, you know, go one way, and then mustaches go the other way. So I want to take and paint a mustache, and it's okay if there's a little bit of black showing through when I'm done. And after I paint one mustache, I'm going to go up a little ways and I'm going to paint another mustache. And then I'm going to go up and paint another one. And each time I make sure I go in both directions. So I go over to one side of the tree and then I go over to the other side of the tree. And I'm going to work my way up. And I go all the way up to the top, and at the top I'm making tiny little baby mustaches. So now I have the first layer. Now I want to take and add in 1 more drop of white into my paint. Just another drop, and I'm going to mix, 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 mix. And this is going to be a little bit brighter. Now I'm going to add in just a few more in each place, and I don't have to do quite as many. I still want to keep paying attention to the direction of my mustache. So I'm going to lighten it up a little bit more. So now I have 2 tints of white happening. Now I'm going to once again get 1 more drop of paint, but this time I'm not going to mix. And before I touch that drop of paint, I need to go into my water and I need to clean my brush really, really well. And I'm going to squeeze out my extra water. So I have a clean brush. I'm going to dip into my pure white. Okay, I'm not going to have any blue in it this time. I only have white on my brush. And now on this side of the tree, the moon is coming and hitting on this side of the tree. So on this side of the tree only, on your side that's closest to the moon, you can ask your teacher what side that is if you're confused. I'm going to add in just a few little highlights. Just on that side. And then I could be done. If I wanted to, I could add in a shadow as well. If I wanted to add in a shadow, I would come back to my blue that is has a tint right here onto the side, and my shadow would be coming and hitting on this side, and I would just take and add in a little shadow. And there I'm finished. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you had fun. Bye bye.